Well, Coach, the home meet complete, and kind of talk about the overall performance.
Yeah, it was a great weekend. Obviously, the weather is not being our friend this year, but athletes did really well across the board. We had some really solid performances, and competing against everybody else in the same conditions, our athletes did very well in terms of placing in the meet. A few standout performances. Kassir McKinney, one of our freshman female distance runners, had her debut in the steeplechase. Did very well. I think she's ranked now number 4th or 5th all time for HSU, and has a similar ranking in the conference right now for that event. So she did very well. I think she surprised herself, but not necessarily her coaches. Some other highlights, Caitlin McCoy did very well in the 100-meter hurdles. She broke the 15-second barrier for the first time. A couple of our other hurlers hit PRs as well. Dylan Roberts and Jay Washington had very good long and triple jump performances. Some of our throwers did very well. Again, I'm sure I'm forgetting some, but overall it was a very good competition.
Dylan, that was just here, and he was telling us that beginning of the season off to a slow start, but obviously a good performance over the weekend.
Mm-hmm.
He said it might have been the weights and that kind of thing, but what have you seen from him, from the beginning and to now with his performance?
Dylan's always been a very talented athlete, but he struggled with meet day, being able to put it all together, in terms of the competition. So I think he's come a long way in his mental approach, in his confidence on the runway, and knowing that sometimes when you have kind of a downward spiral, that he can recover from that and he can come back and go in the other direction. So I'm hoping for him that this is a breakthrough, because his ability has been there all along. But I think he's starting to kind of believe in himself again, and I think that can propel him to much bigger things to come. So excited for him.
Hopefully you get some sunny skies down in the bay this weekend, but kind of talk about just what you want to see at those meets down there.
Yeah, so we've got a couple different meets going on. Stanford Invitational is always a very big meet atmosphere. It's a great facility. There'll be probably a handful of Olympians and elite athletes that are competing throughout the day at that meet. So it's always a fun one for the athletes to compete at. Just to qualify and get into that meet is kind of a big confidence boost for them. So we're looking forward to the few athletes that will be there, just being able to see what they can do with that kind of big meet atmosphere, and keeping their cool and running with their competition mindset, despite the challenge of being at a big meet, maybe not being able to communicate with their coach very well because there's a huge crowd and they're far away and we're not allowed to be on the infield. So that's always a challenge, but it's a good challenge to experience early on in the season, so they learn how to deal with that pressure and with being autonomous as competitors. So I'm looking forward to that at Stanford. Down the road, or I guess across the bay this year, the San Francisco State Distance Carnival is being held at Chabot JC. That meet has just grown and grown every year, and it's becoming a very, very competitive meet, especially for distance events, but also for all the other non-distance events as well. So I think everybody's looking forward to that meet more than we used to. It used to be kind of a B-level meet for all the non-distances, and like I said, it's just becoming more and more competitive as more teams are using that as their kind of alternate meet for that Stanford weekend. So there's about 1,000 heats of everything. It's just becoming a lot more competitive, and there's a lot more depth with all the event groups. So,
anything else you'd like to add?
No, I think this is going to be another kind of key weekend for us. We've had some good marks here and there and a few breakthroughs, but I think this is kind of one of our big competition weekends coming up, knowing that at least with the non-distance side, we're coming off of a rest week. So we're hoping that the athletes feel a lot fresher, and that they can go in this weekend feeling really good and really at 100%, which they very rarely get to feel that way. So I'm hoping that helps propel them to some bigger marks this week. And then after this weekend, we move right into April, which is kind of our focal competition time, where we kind of start fine-tuning and, you know, really trying to get our peak performances out of the athletes. So I'm just looking forward to that coming up.
Sounds good.
All right.
Well, thanks.
Thank you.
Mm-hmm.